this. Oh, boy. We had that funk now. We got the funk starting out this year, boys. We're back. Took a couple week hiatus. We needed that after that extremely difficult loss. And now we can just put it all in the back mirror. Super Bowl's over. Parade is over. Eagles are champions. Should have been the Lions. We would have beat the Eagles. I'm sure of it, especially if we were healthy. But regardless, we didn't because we didn't even get the chance to play them. Washington ended our season early. We're into 2025. We'll stop talking about 2024. Well, we got one segment we'll talk about 2024. Other than that, we're talking about 2025, and we're moving forward. This boat is moving forward. As always, I am Nick Faber. Julius Porter's with me. Adam Stark is with me. We are the Honolulu Blues, and we are excited to have some coffee and Lions talk this wintry, if you're in Michigan, this wintry Saturday morning. We're getting hit right now. Some 6-7 inches supposed to come today, another 4 or 5 inches tomorrow. It's crazy. Adam, are you bunkered down? You holding tight? You stock up on your toilet paper?
Yeah, for the most part. Bad news though, our snowblower has went out after like literally 25 plus years. My dad had the same snowblower that his dad gave to him for a Christmas present, maybe even a housewarming present. But it wasn't for this house. It was for our house before this one back in like 2000. So
Damn, that's
25
old.
years later. And yeah, it was kicking the whole time, working great. And it just didn't want to start up. And I think part of it is because I don't think we used it once last year. And it just, the heartbeat stopped.
Yeah, dude. Or it saw the amount of snow that we're getting.
Yeah,
It was like dude, I'm old. Like, let me go get a shovel if you have
97. There we go.
There
Same
we
age
go.
as me. That's funny.
All right, time to get Adam out to Home Depot and get him a shovel, Phil. Make sure you get him shoveling, you know what I mean? I got my kiddo doing that right now. She's 8, and I was like, Jay, you're 8. That's about when I started shoveling. You get your ass out there and start getting that snow. How's Germany over there, Julius? Do you guys got a bunch of snow? You guys get any snow this year? Is that a thing?
In the part of Germany I'm in right now, we live in like this little mild valley where the temperature doesn't go below like 29, 30 degrees, but it warms up in the daytime just enough in time for the rain. So we got very little snow where I'm at. It's just been a gray, depressing winter, kind of just like the end of the lion season. It matches up pretty well, so I can't complain.
Sunny days are ahead, though. Sunny days are ahead for both Germany and everybody shoveling. Amen. Everybody get your snow pants on and your shovel. After the show, I am actually going to go try to find, I don't know where any good sledding hills are in Royal Oak, but I'm going to try to go find one and take the kiddos sledding. Doesn't that sound, when's the last time y'all went sledding? For me, it's been quite some time.
Actually snowed here last winter, and I took my kids sledding out here in Germany. So it was fun.
Was it a great time, or were after like 3 times having to track back up the hill, were you like, this is as fun as I remember?
Yeah, Juju was good, but little Dominic, 3-year-old, he after the first 2 times, it was about time to take him back in the house.
When they're that young, though, you just throw them back on the sled and you just walk the sled up. You're like, yeah, let's go. Oh, that's great. That's great. We have a great episode. We're going to start our episode not by talking about Detroit Lions. We're going to start talking about the Detroit Pistons. We had our first All-Star in like 7 years. Cade Cunningham is just taking the league by storm. We're 3 games above 500 at the All-Star break. What stat did you have out earlier today, Adam? I saw on Twitter something about Cade doing the first time doing something since like Luka and Russell Westbrook, and then Oscar Robertson or whatever his name is. It's just like an incredible stat. Adam's looking for it right now as he pulls it up. Ultimately, Cade is just killing the game. The Pistons are in the 5 seed or 6 seed, fighting for the 5 seed, right on the brink of it. I really want a home court playoff series, and I said that a couple months ago, and everyone was like, "Whoa, let's just make the playoffs this year." And it's like, no. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want a home series against Indiana. I want to play the Pacers at home. There's already a ton of chippiness. I want a Malice at the Palace #2. I don't care if it makes Detroit look bad. I want it. I'm not going to lie to anyone. I think that would be such a fun series. Adam, I hope you have that stat pulled up. Not only talk to me about that stat, but just the Pistons in general, dude. How exciting is it watching this team?
awesome. I truly, even during the Blake era, because like Blake, when he came in, yeah, the Pistons were a little exciting, and we
Right.
made like the 8th seed one time.
Haven't
But
won a playoff game in like 15 years.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you knew that Blake wasn't our future. This
Right.
wasn't a team building into something. But now it's like, holy crap, these dudes are young. Cade's young, Ivy's young, Auxerre's playing better. He's young, Duran's young. Everyone's under like 25. And so the stat, Cade Cunningham, through 50 games played this season, has 1,271 points, 317 rebounds, and 470 assists. Players in NBA history with 1,250 plus points, 315 rebounds, and 465 plus assists through their first 50 games of the season. You got James Harden did it one time. Luka did it one time. Russell Westbrook 2 times. Oscar Robertson 7. And this dude, man, and Cade joins that list as well. Oscar Robertson. Me and my dad have a little joke that we do where just about every damn time you see an NBA stat, it's like Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Oscar Robertson. Oscar, he's done it like 6 times. And all these other Hall of Fame legends have only done it once or twice. Oscar's on there doing it 5, 6, 7 times. And this dude was just, I wish I could have seen him play.
For real, dude. I posted on your message. I was like, dude, it's like Joey Chestnut eats 83 hot dogs once. Oscar Robertson's done it 8 times, dude. Ain't no big deal. The OR, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's crazy. But it's crazy that Cade, we're witnessing this, right?
Yes.
We witnessed this with Luka and Dallas, and we all sat there and was like, man, if only, you know what I mean? If only the woodpecker cries.
Guys, yeah.
And so now we're seeing it. Like, and Cade's not doing it the Russell Westbrook way where he was like forcing his way into triple doubles often, but not seeing the success on the court. From going from a team as bad as we were last year to what we are this year, it's JB Bickerstaff should be coach of the year. And I know me and Adam have been talking. Julius, you've just been biting your tongue, just like, let me get in on this, boys. So please talk to us about the Stones, JB Bickerstaff, Cade Cunningham, All-Stars, everything, dude.
I mean, it was pretty unexpected on my end. Even though we had Cade, he was coming off an injury. And honestly, if you look back from 2015 to 2020, the single biggest moment in Detroit sports during that time was when we drafted Cade, number 1. Mm-hmm. That was our most exciting time in that 5-year span of trashness that our city was going through. But then I would say up to the Dan Campbell hiring, which to me is when everything truly changed. However, the Pistons currently, I'm very surprised, very pleased. I think Trajan Langdon has proved a lot of people wrong because when he was hired, nobody said it. I mean, it wasn't even in the headlines. It wasn't even on ESPN. Pistons hired a new GM. No, nobody cared because we had just been bad for so long. But I think he's done a great job of adding role players around Cade Cunningham. It sucks Jaden Ivey got hurt because he was really coming on before he did too. We could have 2 superstar guards right now running the show. But Malik Beasley, I mean, at this point, we got to give him a contract extension. He's like our Anzalone. He's like our Anzalone on the Pistons. That's who Malik Beasley is. So we need to give him a contract extension. Isaiah Stewart is a modern day Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer hybrid. So it's great for the culture to have that. And I mean, he's just done a great job with trades. I hope it continues on. I hope they don't hit a snag or anything in the second half of the season. A couple months from now, we're like, damn, they didn't even make the play in. But I have faith in the Stones. I am a Pistons number 1 fan at heart. That were my number 1 team before the Lions came into my life in the Stafford years. But I got to see it to believe it, guys. It's been too long. It's been way too long. So they need to keep pushing. It's exciting. I love watching the games. Like I catch a early evening game every now and then over in Germany. And I just love watching a Pistons game with a good Pistons team. It's about time.
It is. It's really fun. We made the addition of getting Schroeder at the trade deadline. He has been a huge impact on the second team. We had a game. This is what. So throughout the first, I would say 47 games, I was like, there's going to be a point in time we're going to lose like 6 or 7 in a row. It's going to knock us far into the playoff standings. We'll ultimately end this play-in game. And we'll see how it goes from there. That's kind of been my expectations. And then we had a game a couple days ago, maybe about a week ago now. We played Philadelphia, who I hate playing Philadelphia. I hate Joel Embiid. Every single time we play him, the refs just favor him so much. It is unbelievable. Him and Giannis, man, I can't watch those games. Like, I just can't watch those games because I just get into this depression mind of like, it's literally the referees are changing this game. So without Cade Cunningham, I especially didn't watch this game. I was like, Pistons without Cade against Philly, I ain't watching this. I'm going to a bar. I go to this really cool bar in Royal Oak. It's self-serve. It's really interesting. You just kind of put your bracelet up, pour your own beer, and it calculates how many ounces you're pouring. If you owe that much money at the end of the night. It's really cool. Playing games. I look over, I see the TV, and the Pistons are up like 78-40 with our backups playing against Philly, and I just couldn't believe it. I then stopped playing my game and could only watch this game, and that's when I knew this team, as reliant we may be on Cade, dude, we can win without him. I'm not saying we can go win a series or anything like that, but we can win without him, and that gives so much confidence to our second unit that when we went to play Chicago 2 days in a row, Adam, what was that score at halftime in the first game?
71-29.
About gave you a heart attack when you saw it. No one in the world could like understand what was happening. Like, we were like, this must be someone playing NBA 2K right now and faking this. Like, there's no way. That second unit is deadly. Beasley just broke the record for most threes in a Pistons season. We've played 50 games, boys. We have 32 more games to go. Beasley could lead the league in threes this year. And that's,
I think he will.
6th man of the year. He is on the bench. He does not start games. We are starting Ausar Thompson, Tim Hardaway, and Tobias Harris over him. And it all works, dude. It all works. I don't know how it's working, but it's
Coaching
working.
matters. We're seeing it not just with the Pistons, but with the Red Wings too.
It's true.
Coaching, and even honestly, go back a few years, Tigers and Red Wings. You see what AJ Hinch did to the Tigers, turned them around, made a sick playoff push, won a series, and then Dan Campbell, the man at the top, turned the Detroit Lions around. If you can turn Detroit Lions around, you know you're doing something well. So hats off to JB Bickerstaff. We saw what Monty did last year, just from not caring about anything to just putting whoever he could think of on starting lineups. And now we got JB, and this is a dude that wants to change the culture, wants to win. And you see the results now. Pistons are, lurking for a home playoff series, and it's awesome. Same thing with Todd McClellan. Blashill had the Red Wings in just a awful funk. I honestly,
Jeff Blashill and then Derek Lalonde.
Or Lalonde, yeah. God,
Blashill was just as bad. Don't worry.
Either way, yeah. And you were thinking, Yzerman. When all hope was lost, he pulled out one last trick, and bam! This Todd McClellan dude has really turned us around. We got Larkin and Raymond playing in the Nations. Or
Four Nations.
Is that what it is? Four Nations?
Four Nations.
Where Sweden, Finland, USA, and Canada are all facing off against each other in a sweet format. I love that they did this instead of the All-Star game. I think the NBA should try to do something, maybe not exact, but something similar, where it's like, just kill the All-Star game, do something else. No one's watching. Even, hey, Pro Bowl and Roger Goodell, take note, because this is getting a lot of hype.
Interesting theory. I'm glad you transitioned us into the Wings, because that's where we're going next. And like you said, we got the Four Nations, all four nations playing today, 1 p.m. We got Sweden and Finland. For Sweden, we saw Lucas Raymond get 2 assists and a huge play time. Just going to be the star of Sweden over the course of the next 20 years. It's unbelievable. I love this kid so much. He's like one of my prized possessions right now, this Lucas Raymond card. And then not only that, at 8 o'clock tonight, we get the big one. We get USA, Canada. It's going to be a showdown. It's going to be a crazy match. I cannot wait for both games tonight, 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern. Raymond is on Sweden, but Dylan Larkin on USA. Very much like on the 4th string. Like, you will not see a lot of shots or assists or anything like that from Larkin, which is fine. please rest.
Piss him
sir.
off, yeah.
Just rest, dude. Just be healthy. Raymond is young enough; he can go out there and slash his way around. Larkin's getting up in age. I just want that kid to be healthy for my playoff push. But Todd McClellan, 2 7-game win streaks in a month. It's unbelievable. The Red Wings are now the 8th seed out of the conference. And if you looked at Christmas Eve, we were the second to worst team. And I tweeted out then and I said, don't call me crazy, but we gonna be in this, boys. Like, you can never give up on these Wings. Sure enough, we're right in it. Not as much to talk about the Wings because they are still on the cusp. I'm not positive they make the playoffs. We're gonna see how that hot streak goes after this break. That's what kind of scares me. But what Adam was saying for this All-Star break, I really do like this format way better because becoming an All-Star in NHL, you know what I never realized? I never cared about basketball. Being an All-Star in NBA means a lot.
Yeah.
It's big. I didn't realize how big it was. Yeah, exactly.
And they used to try real hard. I was just watching the 2000 NBA All-Star game on YouTube. They have it on YouTube with Kobe, Iverson, Shaq, Tim Duncan, you know, the legends, T-Mac. They were trying in the All-Star game. Like, defensively, of course, they lagged, but offensively, they were trying to win MVP, each and every player, because All-Star game MVP was second to like NBA Finals MVP and accolades in NBA history. So, and Kobe Bryant has the most of those, I believe, but don't quote me on that.
I can assure you, Cade is not going to top that. Cade plays so lackadaisical at all times.
The game isn't even played as competitively offensively as it used to be back then. They just let each other do whatever, man. Like a 30, 40-point game in an All-Star game don't mean nothing.
Give me the overs on that game, dude. Yes. We can win a lot of money. That was it for our 15-minute start time with our Detroit sports. We'll be doing that pretty much all off season, as good as everyone's going. The last one is obviously today's the what day? 15th. So in 1 week from the day, the Detroit Tigers will be playing their first spring training game. A week from tomorrow will be the first televised Detroit Tigers spring training game. We are 1 week away from that. It is nuts. We are also 3 days away from the franchise tags being placed for the NFL, 9 days away from the start of the combine, 23 days. It's just over 3 weeks from the start of being able to talk to free agents. We are about to have a ton of new Detroit Lions, and that's why we're starting this show today. League starts in 25 days. Clubs with returning head coaches start off-season workouts in 65 days, 2 months, and we're going to have our Detroit Lions back out on fields practicing, and we are 68 days away from the NFL draft. So, boys, I just want to ask you real quick. We're going to start with you, Julius. Does it kind of seem like this offseason is going to go by faster because of the anticipation for this upcoming season? Or do you think it will go by slower because of the anticipation and the memory of what last year was?
I think it's going to go by just as fast.
I
don't think it will be slower or faster because last year we had the draft in Detroit. It's just crazy kind of hype. Mm-hmm. This year we're not going to have that hype, but we're in a new phase now. We're now looked at as a Super Bowl contender, and we're in our window. That 4 or 5 teams that are in their window, we're one of them. So we're just trying to get better. That's all we're going to be focused on. So free agency, draft, and before you know, I mean, I guess you could say then the way I'm laying it out, it's going to go slower. It's going to feel slower. The dog days. Mm-hmm. If anything, what we just talked about, the Pistons and the Wings, the Tigers, they might make it go by a little breezier, a little quicker if they excite us, if we got some stuff going on in playoff time in those leagues. But besides that, I think it's going to be a slower dragging off season. We're just going to be anticipating doing what we failed to do last year.
For real. And that's why you're our resident dog days guy. I think you say that at least 1,000 times every offseason. So, I just wanted to get that ticker started right now.
I had to talk it out of me because, you still get the little remnants of the hype we had last year. I still feel that tingle in my shoulders like, oh, but no, the draft is not in Detroit this year. No, we're not the darling Cinderella no more. Now we're the villain. like Brad Holmes intended.
The villain, or are we almost like the freaking girl who was always super ugly, and then she like gets all dressed up for prom, and as she goes into prom, she slips right on the first step and falls and breaks her face, and it's just gushing blood everywhere, and everyone escorts her out of the prom. Like you were supposed to be the prom queen, and you're not even in the dance anymore, dude. You couldn't even make up the
that
first
person
step.
if this the end of that story. Unless that prom queen comes right back marching in the next year.
She's got a nose job, bro. She's got her new teeth, bro. She's looking good. All right. Okay. That's what we are. Adam, same question to you, bro. Do you think this offseason is going to go by a little bit slower, a little bit faster for all the reasons that Julie's brought up, or your own?
I think there will be times where you'll look at it and be like, oh my God, draft is next week. Holy crap, this came fast. Then I want to say after the draft, I think it'll slow down a bit. Like right when Tigers season starts and either the ending of the NBA season, NHL season, when that's over and Tiger season is getting start, I think that's when it'll slow down. I think it'll go pretty quick for now. Just with, the Red Wings and Pistons being, watchable, good teams and giving us something to root for. So I do think it will be a little bit faster, but I definitely feel there will be weeks where it'll be like, God, how many more days? Always looking at the watch, hoping that Lions season is right around the corner when in reality it'll be like 2 more months.
See, I do think it's going to go by faster, and I think it's you're right, Adam. Right after that draft, that May, June, July, right? Those are tough, dude. Yeah. July, you start to get some like OTAs. You can go see practice, which is fun. But then August, you get like preseason and things just zip right through. You're doing drafts, you're doing all this stuff. That made June. However, like you said, if the Pistons and the Red Wings go to the playoffs, that is going to May, right? That's April, May, June. I mean, it's all right in that kind of area, especially if we win a series or two, depending on what team we're talking about. And the Tigers are that can help escalate things. It's that July, that month of July. But it's crazy when you're in July that you're like, next month is preseason football, like live football with our rookies that we drafted in it. So I think it's going to go a little bit faster, but we'll just keep going.
I do want to July real quick. I want to mention July about the Tigers. Last July, the Tigers had their worst month. And then we all got hype into the Lions training camp, and all of a sudden they started smashing. They were the best team in baseball from then on out.
That's true. That's true. And then all of a sudden you were like, Tigers, I'm trying to watch this preseason Lions game. Why am I watching this Tigers third game in the series versus Kansas City right now? Like, all right, let's go Tigers. Yeah, I do want to bring it back to 2024 one time. The dust has settled. We lost to Washington. It was a great year. This is the last time I'm bringing up last season. But I'm just curious about you guys now that the dust has settled. Looking back on it and looking forward in your life, like, there's no way we forget that season. Like, I get it came to a horrible ending, but you can't forget that season. It was amazing. So I'm just curious, out of everything that we saw, what would be one thing that you think you're going to take with you to remember the 2024 season with for a long time? And I'm going to start. And you can say there's a lot of things. I could say that there's a lot of things, but I don't want to take anyone else's answer. And I think my answer is a little bit different. But I think the one thing I'm going to remember from that is the Jared Goff touchdown catch. That's right. I think out of everything, I think in 10, 15 years, I'm going to probably have forgotten that we won our first NFC championship, that we went 15-2, that we played the Viking, all this stuff. I just said I wasn't going to take all your answers, and I probably did. But regardless, I think what I'm going to remember is that Jared Goff touchdown catch and just how excited and hyped I was at that during that Seattle game. And just was like, this is it. Like, this is it. I think that catch, which doesn't get a lot of, I think the fumble Ruski catch play, Goff, pretended to fumble and everyone yells fumble. I think that'll go down as the best play of the Lions for this last year. That Jared Goff catch to me is something special. It wasn't the last time I think I saw something like that. The Lions were 1-15 and we were just throwing everything out, in the last game.
The Matt Prater touchdown where Matt Prater threw it to
which is what you remember from that season. We don't even know what season that was. We will never remember anything else from that season except Matt Prater threw a freaking touchdown, which was cool. Like here, we got to see Jared Goff catch a touchdown pass. I think that's really cool. I know it's not the answer most people would say, but that's the answer I'm going to give. And I'm going to go to Adam next. From 2024, Bud, what's one thing you're going to remember?
It has got to be, I know the trick plays were great, but man, oh man, that 11-game win streak, that was just so much fun. And I know it's taken up like a big, not one singular moment, but man, to have that feeling of just like another week, we're definitely going to win. You know, like we all felt so confident during like when it got to like 6, 7, 8, like after that Texans comeback. And we got to the Jaguars, the Colts, the Bears, the Packers. Oh my gosh, those games were so much fun. Just like deep down knowing like we won. We already won this week. And it really felt like this is what it's like to be a Chiefs fan. What it's like to be a Patriots fan with Brady and Belichick, you know, a Warriors fan with the Splash Brothers. It just winning felt so, or had never felt more natural and just like expected. And granted, we might not get a whole lot of that in the next coming years because the schedule is getting tougher. We finished 15-2, second best record in the NFL. We're getting all the 1 seeds. We play pretty much every good team on the road: Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens, Bengals, Commanders. So it's no guarantee that we'll rip off 11 straight again, but man, oh man, that was so much fun, and it won me a few bucks too. So
can't be mad at that. Julius, same question to you, bud. What's one thing you're going to remember from 2024?
So the true answer is the game against the Dallas Cowboys. I'll never forget that game. That's the game that the season changed. That's the game that the vibes changed. Even though we went through that whole 11-game win streak, like Adam said, after that, it still didn't feel the same after that game. But however, I'm not going to be a negative Nancy, and I'm going to say
be negative. Being negative is something you can remember from this.
No, because in that game, I also remember J-Mo going off for the first time. That was the first career game from J-Mo, and he had several to close out the season, but that was the first game he truly went off. I mean, against the Rams, he had that big streak pass, but that Cowboy game, I remember J-Mo. But I mean, I remember that they won on Thanksgiving for the first time since I was almost a teenager. So
for real. I love it. I was just curious. You know, it's hard to ask that question right after you lose. You know, everyone's answer would be like Washington. Well, I remember 15-2. It's like, let's let a couple weeks settle. Let's just kind of see what we are actually remembering. But we'll keep moving on. We had a ton of changes, a ton of turnover when it comes to coaching. The most in Detroit Lions history, obviously, the first time in Detroit Lions history that we lost an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator to head coaching positions, and we did it both in 1 year, and they took a ton of our coaches that we had, so a ton of turnover. I'm going to go through them all right now. I'm just going to kind of break down a few of them, maybe just kind of see which ones really stick out to you guys, leaving and coming in. Bear with me. If I mess up, please interrupt me. I'm just going to fly through them, though, right now. Starting out, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson has become the Chicago Bears head coach. Replacing him is John Morton, who was the Denver Broncos passing game coordinator last year. Defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn goes to New York Jets to become a head coach. Replacing him is Detroit Lions linebacker coach Kelvin Shepard. Replacing Kelvin Shepard at linebacker coach is Sean Dion Hamilton, who was the assistant linebacker coach. We all remember him from our first season doing this show, getting signed, or maybe it was our second season. One of those 2 years we signed him. Defensive line coach Tyrell Williams, who we signed last year while he was coaching the Senior Bowl, is now going with Mike Vrabel to New England to become the defensive coordinator. We have replaced him with Casey Rogers, who was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line coach, who they had a good defensive line last couple of years, so I like that. Wide receiver coach Antoine Randall, who we all remember kind of yelling at J-Mo, but loving him and running down the field. He is now with the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson as their wide receivers coach and assistant head coach. We replaced Randall with Scotty Montgomery, who was our running backs coach last year. Replacing Scotty Montgomery at running backs coach is Tashard Choice, who was the University of Texas's running back coach.
And Georgia Tech.
Oh, and Georgia Tech, where Jahmyr Gibbs played with them and talked very highly of him. Passing game coordinator Tanner Ingstrand, who a lot of people had slotted to be our new offensive coordinator, instead goes with Aaron Glenn to the Jets to become their offensive coordinator, where we have replaced him with David Shaw, who was the senior personnel executive with the Denver Broncos last year. He comes over with John Morton from Sean Payton's staff, who has ties with Dan Campbell. At tight end coach, we lose Steve Hayden, who we dropped the news of signing him to, I believe, Taylor Decker when we had him on the show, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Anyways, he leaves to be the New York Jets offensive line coach with Aaron Glenn. We replace him with Tyler Roll, I think is how we say his name. He was the running backs coach and assistant head coach at Iowa State last year. Before that, North Dakota State. We lost assistant quarterback coach JT Barrett to the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson to become their quarterback coach, which is what Mark Brunell does for us. Replacing him, me and Julius decided, with Bruce Gradkowski, who is not the assistant quarterback coach, but is the offensive assistant, assuming he works with Mark Brunell a lot and Jared Goff. Bruce Gradkowski was the offensive coordinator in the UFL last year with the St. Louis Battle Hawks. I think that's everything. I might be missing a few very minor coaches. We did just lose Mike Martin from our front office last week. He's going to Notre Dame to be their football GM, which is really cool for him. But a lot of changes, boys. Whew, I'm done talking too. So, Julius, I'm going to go to you. And just what all of those, what sticks out? What sticks out? Just what sticks out, bud?
I mean, everything sticks out. Everything sticks out offensively, defensively. There's just so many position changes coaching wise. The key point that I just keep telling myself is it doesn't matter because Dan Campbell is the head coach, right? And so we still got the same core of players. We still got Dan Campbell. We still got Brad Holmes. Those three trifectas is going to trump any problems that this new coaching staff may present to the roster as far as play calling, player motivation, all types of things. We just talked about how coaching matters so much, but in the NFL, I really truly believe that head coach matters more above all the other. The coaching staff is more important in NFL than like the NBA, NHL staffs. The assistants just sit on the sideline and look lost the whole game. Our coaching staffs in the NFL, they're more important. A lot of them are on the sidelines with the players. A lot of them are former players. And so now I look back and I look at the guys that Dan Campbell brought in this year. A lot of them are still former players or former coaches that's been coaching for a while. Experience. It's not like he just brought in like 5 Ben Johnsons. Wasn't nobody saying nothing to him when he gave Ben Johnson play calling duties, over when they fired, what's his name, the first offensive coordinator.
Lynn. Mm-hmm.
I always forget his name, Anthony Lynn. But we were like a losing team. Nobody cared, so, and then that worked out. So I think he earned our confidence in this moment to just trust him. And we'll see when training camp comes around, we'll start to see how it looked. You know what I'm saying? Preseason, people say preseason don't matter, but when you got 80% new coaching staff, preseason matters. Mm-hmm. That's when we get to see who's the running backs coach we lost a couple years ago to Carolina? Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley. Remember this guy? He was the assistant head coach. He was Dan Campbell's right-hand man. Mm-hmm. And we saw in the preseason, their first season, how important he was of a hire. And I truly believe Dan Campbell can continue to hire these kind of coaches to come in and continue the culture that he built. So I'm good with it all on the outside. I'm ready. I'm ready to see how it works out.
I love that.
I am so ready to. I'm sick and tired of every single, just basically every non-Lions fans like, oh, Dan Campbell carried by his coordinators. Well, we'll see how he's going to do this year. Oh, he's going to – we're fall-offs. No. Dan Campbell is an elite head coach. He does make some mistakes here and there, but we saw it last year. He's cut down big on them. There wasn't any that I can think of like right off the top of my head that were really bad So it's going to be nice to see Dan Campbell be able to prove himself yet again, even though us Lions fans, we know this guy's a great coach. We know what he's going to do. And then the other two names that didn't get mentioned, but were returning coaches / front office pieces, Chris Spielman, he had maybe not offers, but interviews to go be maybe GM, or I don't know what he was interviewing for, but he had interviews. And then the big one, Hank Fraley. We got to retain Hank Fraley, our offensive line coach. We see how our offensive line's been working. Penny, just a dog, Frank dog, and to have him back was huge. He had a couple offers to go be the offensive coordinator with Seattle, turned those down, so that was nice. And then we get Scotty Montgomery now kind of taking in a bigger role. He's transitioning to wide receivers. And I really believe that this guy has some head coaching potential. And I think that Dan Campbell knows that too, where he couldn't quite put him at offensive coordinator. I feel like he really wanted some veteran leadership just to, keep it stable. But it honestly would not shock me one bit if Johnny Morton gets fired and they promote Scotty Montgomery, and then all of a sudden that's when we take off. Now, do I hope that happens? No, because I hope Johnny Morton is an elite offensive coordinator, but definitely a possibility there. A lot of new coaches, movement, changes within the Lions. Players are getting, different head coaches or different position coaches. So I think that'll be somewhat of an impact, but ultimately, I'm really just excited to see Dan Campbell, prove himself that he should have won Coach of the Year. He should have won it the last 2 years, and winning your division needs to mean something. And just because Vegas says, you're only supposed to win 6.5 games and you overachieve that, it shouldn't mean that you're an elite head coach. Yeah, it means you're probably a good head coach, but just because Vegas got it wrong doesn't mean that, it went incredibly right for whoever being Kevin O'Connell. But man, the one I'm really most excited is Scotty Montgomery. I think he still will be involved with the running backs too. We also brought in Tashard Choice. I absolutely love that. Seeing him come from Texas. He just coached Jonathan Brooks. Bijan Robinson was with Jahmyr Gibbs at Georgia Tech, where he recruited him. Jahmyr Gibbs even said he got 28 D1 offers, and the reason he went to Georgia Tech was because of this coach. Could have went to Alabama, Auburn, LSU, all the elite SEC schools, but he chose Georgia Tech based off of this one coach. So I have high hopes on him. And I really think that Dan Campbell knows what he's doing. He knows how to build a staff. He went out, got Aaron Glenn. He went out and promoted Ben Johnson to offensive coordinator. So I really trust that these moves are going to work out, essentially, just because we saw it in the past.
Yeah, I love that. I love everything everyone said. I am definitely not worried because of Dan Campbell. He is the shaft or the rod of the umbrella, and all these other pieces are the umbrella that's spread out. Now, you can't have a weak link in an umbrella because that umbrella won't work. So it is up to these coaches, not just up to Dan Campbell. It is on Dan Campbell to get the correct, wiring around to make sure that umbrella holds up and keeps the rain over our player off of our players. The biggest thing I think, though, the biggest thing I'm shocked about, I really am shocked that we didn't promote Tanner Engstrand to offensive coordinator, from passing game coordinator to offensive coordinator, and went with the Denver Broncos passing game coordinator. So it seemed like we were going to go with one of the passing game coordinators. Maybe Dan Campbell is like, Aaron Glenn needs help. Tanner, I know I can replace this, regime with people that I don't want to say master, but the guy that Dan Campbell looked up to for coaching, Sean Payton, trusted last year and did really well with Bo Nix. So Tanner, go do that. I was just pretty shocked. I'm not gonna lie. If I had $100, at the end of the season, I would have bet Tanner was going to be our offense coordinator. Like, I was pretty sure that was going to happen. It didn't. But but maybe that's because we didn't want to hire from within for both offensive and defensive coordinators. We didn't want to have Shep and Tanner. Maybe we wanted some outside voices to be some of the leaders, and we had to make a decision one way or the other. We trusted Shepard bringing the same scheme that Glenn has with a healthy defense should produce the same, if not close to the same results. And I know our defense looked so shaky last year, but I tweeted this out, guys, like, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about this trading for Myles Garrett or Max Crosby and what you would give up for him. I'll start this out by saying I don't think we need to. I don't want to. I don't want Myles Garrett. I don't want Max Crosby for the amount that I would have to give up for either of them. I truly think our defense, by adding a few free agents and draft picks, along with adding Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson back, is going to be the best defensive line there is. And you can take away Levi Onwuzurike and El Qadim Muhammad, who we'll talk about in a bit. I don't care that much. Like, those two guys aren't changing the needle. It's Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, Aiden Hutchinson, and you can put Josh Paschal, Marcus Davenport, whoever you want to put on the other edge. I'm not that worried about it. Yes, if we put Myles Garrett or Max Crosby at the other side of the edge, it's crazy. It's crazy. But we could also draft someone like a Mike Green or Shamar Stewart, who could be that guy in 2 or 3 years and be on a way less deal and still have picks because of them. I don't know. I hate the idea of trading for Garrett and Crosby. And it takes a lot out of me, at least it did for a couple of weeks, not to go on Twitter and be like, y'all are dumb. And I assume you guys want to, and I'm not trying to call you dumb, but I just can't wrap my head around it. I don't like it. And I hope that one of you guys disagree with me so you can almost somewhat convince me, because I'm always open to everything. But for me, I do not want to trade for Myles Garrett or Max Crosby in the slightest, not one bit. If they want to accept a third rounder for either of them, yeah. But assuming that we have to give up 2 firsts plus a third or a Hendon Hooker or something like that to get these guys, I don't want to. They're out of my price range. I don't want to have to deal with the prices that come along with the re-signs we have upcoming along with their contracts. I don't want it. Adam, we'll go to you first. You want Myles Garrett? Do you want Max Crosby? And how much would you trade to get him? Realistically.
I do. I went back and forth. Julius is laughing because Julius already knew what I was about to say. Getting Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, I've been trying to think of some comparisons. Couple came to my mind is what's going to happen is essentially if we get one of these guys, it's going to speed up the Super Bowl when we do get it. It's going to make it come within 1 to 2 years. Now, that might be the only one we get for the next 3 to 7 years. And I think that might be worth the risk. But if we don't, if we build with draft picks, we've seen how Brad Holmes does. We kind of saw what the Eagles just did with their whole first their defensive line. Jalen Carter, Sweat, all these guys were draft picks. And you don't necessarily have to find an Aiden Hutchinson in the first round. You can find some superstars in the third and, the second, the fourth round and make it work. But I do feel like going out and getting a Myles Garrett would be something similar to what the Rams did with Jalen Ramsey, where it was just a move that kind of just nailed in that hammer or hammered in that nail. Yeah. Hammered in that nail. And just kind of put the Lions over the top. And I also kind of compare it with when the Warriors had, Draymond, Clay, Steph Curry, won a couple championships. And all of a sudden they bring in Kevin Durant. And it's like, oh my gosh, this just put them over the top. And I know Kevin Durant did get injured and it kind of, I guess it did work out because they won 2 rings. But
neither of those teams have won a ring since those trades.
Exactly. And I think that's the risk with it, because if you don't get a ring within those first 2, maybe 3 years, you're going to start sweating, and Lions fans will start thinking, Brad Holmes, what? Come on, we didn't need to do this. And then it starts controversy that just didn't need to be there. But I want this risk, man. Risk it for the biscuits. To have Myles Garrett and Crosby on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson would just be ridiculous. I truly don't know how offenses would be able to survive that. I feel like you could put Kindle Vildor. You could put 3 Kindle Vildors back at cornerback and just not have a worry. So for me, I think this is the move that go out and get that Super Bowl, Brad. I'm not going to freak out if he doesn't make this move. If Garrett does rework his contract, that would be cool too. He is 29 years old, so he's kind of getting up there, but still, still in the peak of his career. So a guy like him, I really think could put us over the top.
Okay. So Adam wants the trade. I don't want the trade. We'll just leave it at that. Julius, you be our deal breaker. What should the Lions do?
I don't know how much of a deal breaker I'm gonna be in this situation, but I just want to get better on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, right? And I can't guarantee that a late round, first round pick is gonna accomplish that, or the combination of Pascal, Kaminsky, Muhammad. I just don't know. But I do know if Myles Garrett is on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, we could win a Super Bowl next season. So if it happens, I will not be mad. I will be happy. If it doesn't happen, I will not be mad. I'll still be happy. So that's why I said I don't know how much of a deal breaker I am in that sense. I just want improvement in the pass rush, some more help for Aiden Hutchinson, whatever that inquires. It could be another player besides them, Dre Henderson. There's a couple other guys. I don't know. Brian Burns. I don't know.
That would be crazy. So
cheaper options that still improves that other side.
If Cleveland's GM called you up today and was like, I want your first round this year, your fourth round this year, your first round next year, and Hendon Hooker for Myles Garrett, do you say yes or do you say no? Keep in mind, we do get 2 third-round picks for losing Aaron Glenn.
I say no.
Okay. Julius, or that was Julius. Adam?
I would say yes, because I would be on the belief that next year's first-round pick would be pick 32.
That's fair. That's very
fair. That's fair. That's fair. I just, in face value, that's too much for me.
Sure. Yeah, that's why I ask it. I love it. I also say no to that. Sorry, everyone who wants Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. Let's talk about some Detroit Lions players we need to re-sign. Like I said earlier, 23 days until we teams can start talking to players, which means we have about 3 weeks to re-sign as many players as we can before they start talking with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson and these guys that know these guys. So we did a top 5. Who would we want to go bring back? We're going to go one by one to a degree. The number 5 on this list only got 1 vote, but he was voted high enough to get him 5th on this list. That was Levi Onwuzurike. Out of our top 5 is Levi Onwuzurike. I believe Adam was the only one that voted him on his list. Put him at number 3.
No, it's Julius.
Oh, sorry. Julius was the only one that put him on his list. Put him at number 3. Julius, talk to me about why you want to bring Levi back.
I'm just thinking about that defensive line like we just discussed. I'm thinking about that defensive line without Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, and I want improvement. And to me, improvement is Levi Onwuzurike on the field. He could play that big defensive end position that John Cominsky and John Pascal plays, arguably better than both of them. His problem is he can't stay on the field longer than 4 games at a time. So if you trust that he's healthy, which I don't know, I'm not the Lions, health officials, but if he is healthy and the asking price isn't too much, he's a primary signing in my opinion for the Lions on that defensive line.
I love that. I'll take number 4. For number 4, we had Al-Quadin Muhammad. I put him on my list. I believe Adam also put him on his list. I'll take it because the reason I like him is just for everything that Julius was saying, but I expect Levi to get a bigger deal from Aaron Glenn and go help the Jets out or Chicago and Ben Johnson. But I truly do think it's going to be the Jets. Because of that, I think for a cheaper price, we can get a guy who knows who we are and brought grit on a time that we were desperate for anyone who could run after a quarterback to come play for our team. Muhammad really stepped up. A cheaper deal, in my opinion, probably. Maybe just a 1-year deal, but just bring it back, do a little bit better. Let's see what you can do. Maybe go get your bag next year and go somewhere else if you want. But so for me, I went Muhammad. So did Adam. I believe he was off Julius' list, but he's number 4 on our consensus list. Adam, you're going to be talking about number 3, another guy that I think probably would go to the Jets, or at least we'll have Aaron Glenn pushing hard for him. It's Derek Barnes. Tell us why you'd want to bring Derek Barnes back and where you had him on your list, if you had him. I can't remember.
Barnes was number 4 for me. I do think that he has, just familiarity with the team. Had a short season last year. Coming off the season before that, it seemed like he had a lot of high hopes. Barnes did seem like he took that next step, I guess 2 seasons ago, not last.
He had the pick against Baker at the game we were at.
He had the pick against Baker. He was looking good ever since that botched sack on Dak in the end zone. It seemed like he turned the corner and was, getting a lot better. Now Aaron Glenn is gone, and part of me does feel like he might follow Aaron Glenn over with the Jets, but linebackers have been kind of tough for the Lions. It seems like we only could rely on Jack Campbell last year. Anzalone was injured. Barnes was injured. Rodrigo injured. So if we could get a dude that, knows the system, granted Barnes is a little injury prone, but I would like him back.
I love that. We'll keep it going around the circle to Julius, to our number 2 pick. This was everyone. Well, no, 2 people had Zeitler number 2 and 1 person had Zeitler number 1. I can't remember whom it was. Julius, where did you have Zeitler on your list, and why did you have him there, and why do we want to bring him back?
I had Kevin Zeitler as my number 1 free agent priority signing.
Perfect.
And it goes back to availability. Kevin Zeitler played damn near the whole season for the Lions. Even when he got hurt, he stayed in the game and played for us. We need that kind of durability and toughness on an injury-riddled team. We lost because we didn't win the Super Bowl because of injuries. I'm saying it out loud in public, live on air. We lost because our team had 20 players on IR when the playoffs started. If that wasn't the case, if that would have been half that number, we would have won the Super Bowl. We would have had one of the greatest teams of all time. In that case, we need Kevin Zeitler back because he's on the field a lot. Not only is he on the field a lot, but when he is on the field, he's a top 5 guard in the league. So pay him. He's only had I think that's the reason that Hank Franklin came back, because Taylor Decker and Kevin Zeitler and Frank Ragnow is in the twilight of their career, and they want to go out on top. And they want to go out on top with their guy, Hank Fraley. So to me, Kevin Zeitler must be re-signed.
I love that. Even if it's just 1 year, he can retire after the year.
He's $6 million. He can retire as soon as the season ends, win or lose.
Yep. And I'm going to flip it and go back to Adam. So he's the last one talking here about this. Carlton Davis was mine and Adam's number 1 re-sign. Number 2 for Julius, not far off. Pretty much 1A and 1B between Zeitler and Davis. Really, it's interchangeable. But again, me and Adam had number 1. Adam, why did you have him number 1? And why do we think? Why do you need to have him back on the Lions?
He almost seemed like Terrion's big bro. Like he was the leader to this young group. And Terrion, once Carlton went down, was kind of thrown to the wolves, even more so than he already was. So to have Carlton back would be nice. I don't think it's a for sure need. I don't know. It's interesting because if Zeitler was a little bit younger, I probably would go Zeitler, honestly. But just when I want to say he's 35, maybe even 36. So once you're getting up to that age, anything would happen. We kind of saw it with Graham Glasgow, where he just fell off a cliff. So Davis, still young. He is a bit of an injury-prone player. Last year was interesting because he stayed healthy for the most part. I know he broke his thumb or whatever, but the injury that knocked him out was a broken jaw, which is like a fluke injury. I don't know how you break your jaw with a helmet on or how even that happened, but it does kind of lead back into the just Carlton Davis being injury prone. And that's not saying that, he doesn't break his pinky toe or something like that. Another fluke injury where his body just is more susceptible to injuries like that. So Davis, it's always nice to get some corners in there. We haven't had a true elite lockdown corner in quite some time. So it would be nice to have, him and Terrion be that 1A, 1B type combo.
He is going to be the most expensive. He probably will get offered more money than we can pay him somewhere else, but I would love to bring him back, especially we traded a 3rd round pick for him. I kind of want him more than for 16 games. Like, we trade a 3rd round pick for him. Not to say that every 3rd round pick works out. Obviously, Broderick Martin hasn't, but like, I don't know. I want him back a little bit more than that. Along with because of all the coaching changes, I think one of the best things you can do is bring back as much players as you can. Players that need to be coached, obviously, but know what we're trying to accomplish, rather than bringing someone from the outside in and being like, look, dude, you got to be grit. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it's like. We've been Carlton Davis back. The dude knows who we are, even without Aaron Glenn there to show him the way. It's just less work for Kelvin Sheppard, in my opinion. So let's try to bring him back. We'll do one last segment. We're going to do this every week and leading up, where we each got one rookie that we're going to preview for the Detroit Lions, thinking or trying to either convince Brad Holmes that they should draft this guy, or just kind of, introduce him to the masses that don't know about him. The first go around, we all got guys probably everyone knows. That's all right. We're going to get like deeper and deeper into the draft as the offseason starts to work towards the draft. I will start here. The guy who made a huge splash at the Senior Bowl actually ended up leaving the Senior Bowl because he made one huge play and got the internet abuzz. I'm going with Marshall edge rusher Mike Green. 17 sacks last year, 6'4", 215. We talk about needing a new edge rusher. That's what I want the Lions. I want the Lions to sign an edge rusher, and I want them to draft one with their 1st round pick. And I want that guy to be Mike Green. He might be before the 28th pick, meaning we might have to do what we did for Terrion and move up to get him. I will be okay with it. He is nasty. Go look at Mike Green, Senior Bowl. If you haven't seen the play, it's the first thing that'll come up, and he just bull rushes over Josh Connerly from Oregon, who's also a 1st round evaluated talent, and he just made him look like a 3-year-old. It was crazy. I love Mike Green. 17 sacks last year from Marshall. Go and get him. Just like Quinion Mitchell from Toledo last year. These guys that come from these smaller schools, some people are like, well, they haven't faced the competition. Quinion Mitchell's a Super Bowl winner. You know what I mean? So, like, go get this guy. He's going to be great. Julius, we'll go to you next.
Speaking of Toledo, shout out Bruce Gajkowski, new offensive assistant, all-time leading passer for the Toledo Rockets.
Who knew?
So he does have some roots in the Detroit metro area. Me and Nick found that out before the show. But my rookie spotlight is also going back to the offensive line. For me, Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle / guard from the University of Texas, 3-year starter for the Texas Longhorns. He is a pro-ready run blocker, the best run blocking guard in major college football last season. His pass protection needs some work, but that's what Hank Fraley is for. Another reason I like Kevin Banks Jr., he is a mauler. In his freshman year, he's probably best known his freshman season for shutting down Will Anderson, the eventual number 1 draft pick for the Houston Texans. He shut him down as a freshman. Like, literally, Will Anderson had the worst game of his life against Kelvin Banks, and he's pretty much been doing that in the SEC for the last 3 seasons. He's a late 1st round bloomer right now. I definitely see him being in the Lions' range. And like I said, with Ragnow and Zeitler and Decker on the way out, we need some fresh blood on the offensive line, not just Christian Mahogany. So I'm got Kelvin Banks. Maybe an early call out 1st round pick.
Might be.
Real quick, I did want to throw in my trade up. I have a trade down, trade up scenario. And see, I don't even want to do this. Go ahead, Adam, give your guy first, just in case my guy is that trade up scenario.
Probably not. Actually, I definitely know you're not going to say this guy, because I don't even know how I'm bringing up the courage to say him. But this is a crybaby. He's also a national champion. He's a loser, a 4-time loser to the beloved Michigan Wolverines. And that's Jack Sawyer. And I know a lot of Michigan fans especially are like, oh, no, I don't want Jack Sawyer. No, Ohio State, no. But once that season ends, I snip that wire, man. Like, if you're a good player, bring him on home. And at the end of the day, I do think Jack Sawyer is a good player, or has the potential to be a good player. He has a high-powered motor, something similar to what Hutch has, where he just had that drive. He has passion. I mean, it was kind of silly to see him crying over Michigan flag planting, but it showed that that shit pissed him off. And I want players like that take stuff personal, where, you know, if Vikings do something silly like that, where he remembers that the next season he comes out with a vengeance. Had 9 sacks this year, had a notable pick 6 in the game against the Texas Longhorns that pretty much sealed their victory to go to the national championship. This dude is, honestly, he's kind of a winner, just not against Michigan. But he won't be playing Michigan, so that's the good news. Jack Sawyer, it would also be a cool little 1-2 Ohio State on, you know, one side, Michigan on the other. You know, the two, you know, I guess foes getting together to become one, you know, elite force. And so I think that would be kind of a cool storyline. And then another thing, I don't think he missed a single game in college. He played 12 games. Maybe he missed one game his freshman year. 12 games, 13, then 16. So I want a dude that's durable, that can be out there, that we can count on. So Jack Sawyer, I wouldn't be opposed. I know a lot of Michigan fans, you know, would hate it, but a good player is a good player. And if Brad Holmes approves, then I definitely approve.
I love that. Julius, did you want to get that trade offer in?
Yeah. He didn't name the player, but I have a special mention trade up candidate, rookie spotlight, and that guy is cornerback Will Johnson of Michigan. I think he's the best corner in the draft. He is being highly undervalued right now, going in like anywhere from 14 to 24. Listen, Brad Holmes, make that call, baby. Make that call. Get Will Johnson home to the D. And speaking of that Michigan-Ohio State rivalry connection with the Lions, they already got it on offensive line with Glasgow and Decker. So they'll just be adding it on the other line. It'd be super cool.
That would be cool. I would love the idea of Will Johnson. I agree. Best cornerback in the league. Adam, take us out, dude.
As always, you guys can check us out at Honolulu Blues _. Check us out on YouTube, wherever you're watching. Give some likes, subscribes, all that good stuff. Check us out individually at Nick Faber NFL for Nick, and the 5th top for my man Julius, and Everyday FFB. I don't have it up for myself, but as always, go.